you kind of mentioned surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a really interesting idea of yours that you just said, a lot of people seem to be really uncomfortable with surveillance.
Yeah.
And you just said that, you know what, for me, there's positives for surveillance.
I think people behave better when they know they're being watched. And I know this is a very unpopular opinion. I'm talking about it on stage right now. We behave better when we know we're being watched. You and I had a very different conversation before we were recording. We behave different. You sit up and you are on your best behavior, and I'm trying to sound eloquent, and I'm trying to not hurt anyone's feelings. And I mean, I have a camera right there. I'm behaving totally different than when we first started talking, When you know there's a camera, you behave differently. I mean, there's cameras all over LA at stoplights so that people don't run stoplights, but there's not even film in it. They don't even use them anymore, but it works.
It works.
Right? And I'm, working on this thing in stand about surveillance. It's like, that's why we invented Santa Claus. Santa Claus is the first surveillance, basically. All we had to say to kids is he's making a list and he's watching you, and they behave better.
That's brilliant.
So I do think that there are benefits to surveillance. I think we all do sketchy things in private, and we all have watched weird porn or Googled weird things, and we don't want people to know about it. Our secret lives. So I do think that obviously we should be able to have a modicum of privacy. But I tend to think that people that are the most negative about surveillance have the most secrets.
Have the most to hide. Well, you should. You're saying you're doing bits on it now?
Well, I'm just talking in general about privacy and surveillance and how paranoid we're kind of becoming, and how I mean, it's just wild to me that people are like, our emails are going to leak and they're taking our phone numbers. Like there used to be a book full of phone numbers. And addresses they just throw it at your door. And we all had a book of everyone's numbers. This is a very new thing. And, I know our amygdala is designed to compound sort of threats. And, there's stories about, and I think we all just glom on in a very, tribal way of like, they're taking our data. Like, we don't even know what that means. But we're like, well, they. So I just think that sometimes like, okay, well, so what? They're going to sell your data? Who cares? Why do you care?
First of all, that bit will kill in China. And I say that sort of only a little bit joking, because a lot of people in China, including the citizens, despite what people in the West think of as abuse, are actually in support of the idea of surveillance. Mm-hmm. Sort of, they're not in support of the abuse of surveillance, but the idea of surveillance is kind of like the idea of government. Like you said, we behave differently. And in a way, it's almost like why we like sports. There's rules, and within the constraints of the rules, there is a more stable society. And they make good arguments about being able to build successful companies, being able to build successful social lives around a fabric that's more stable. When you have a surveillance, it keeps the criminals away, keeps abusive animals, whatever the values of the society. With surveillance, you can enforce those values better.
And here's what I will say. There's a lot of unethical things happening with surveillance. I feel the need to really make that very clear. I mean, the fact that Google is like collecting if people's hands start moving on the mouse to find out if they're getting Parkinson's, and then their insurance goes up, like that is completely unethical and wrong. And I think stuff like that we have to really be careful around. So the idea of using our data to raise our insurance rates, or, I heard that they can sort of predict if you're going to have depression based on your selfies by detecting micro muscles in your face, all that kind of stuff. That is a nightmare, not okay. But I think, we have to delineate what's a real threat and what's getting spam in your email box. That's not what to spend your time and energy on. Focus on the fact that every time you buy cigarettes, your insurance is going up without you knowing about it.